Cinnamon rolls are not that hard to make, so I'm gonna have you follow with me today. We'll have the recipe at the end, and we'll make some homemade cinnamon rolls that are worthy of how they look for taste. So first what we're gonna do is we're gonna cream together our butter and sugar, and this is softened butter, incorporated and almost fluffy looking. And then from there, we'll add in the rest of our ingredients one by one. So next we'll add our eggs to that. A little bit of salt, and a whole lot of flour. Make sure that when you're going along that you scrape the sides, because that bottom tends to get a collection of everything. You want to make sure it's all incorporated. So you're also going to have a mixture of milk and yeast. I put a little bit of sugar in there and I let it blossom, and what that means is the yeast is dry, so once it hits that warm milk, which you want to have the milk somewhere between that 110 degrees and 115 degrees. Too cold, it's not going to activate. Too warm, it's going to kill the yeast. You're going to want to add in your blooming yeast mixture. So once that's all mixed and incorporated, which doesn't take long at all, we're going to take a greased bowl and put that right in there. And we're going to cover it with some saran wrap and put it in a warm place for it to double in size. So for now, let's let this rest. It'll take about an hour. If your house isn't quite as warm or the area isn't quite as warm, it might take longer, but you want it to definitely double in size. So the wait is finally over. The dough has risen. It's nice and warm. We're going to sprinkle some flour on our rolling board, and we're going to roll out the dough to about the size of this cutting board. We want it more in a rectangular shape because it's going to be rolled up, and then we're going to cut it lengthwise. You don't want to roll it out too thin because you'll have too much filling and it won't have enough of the cinnamon roll to filling ratio. I think the hardest part of doing cinnamon rolls is just waiting for them to rise, because we're going to spread some butter on top of this and then some cinnamon sugar, and some of it's going to get raisins, and roll it up, and then we have to wait again. So I'm just taking my butter and getting it spread all across, and then we're going to take brown sugar and cinnamon and mix that together real well. Now in my family, some like raisins, some don't. So I put raisins on half of it, and when you do the half, you're going to go the long ways, because when you roll it up, that's going to be your side with raisins. I do plump my raisins, and I just take warm water. I put raisins in the warm water and then drain them out. That way they're not taking any moisture from my cinnamon rolls themselves. So this way, everybody's happy. There's some with and some without. All right, we're right to this point. We're gonna start rolling it. So you wanna keep it firm, but not smushing it in, and just trying to keep everything from peeling out the sides, and just making a nice roll. Now, I made little cuts with the knife just so that I can have a kind of an idea of where I wanted to trim them. But I'm actually going to you can use either dental floss or you can use string. And you're just going to slide that under and then tie it off. And the reason you do that is then you're not smushing them down. Look at that. Doesn't that look good? I'm going to place them in a buttered pan, and I'm just going to keep following those cut marks that I did. They're kind of my guide until they're all sliced and in the pan and ready to go. Now leave some space because we have to let them rise again, which means we have to wait again. If you don't want to cook them today, then you would put wrapping on the top of this and put it in the refrigerator, or you could even freeze them at this point. If you freeze them, you'll want to take them out and let them get to room temperature and then rise until they're doubled in size. If you're putting them in the refrigerator, you're going to take them out and let them rise till they're doubled in size and then cook them. Look at how good those look already. So while we're waiting for the last rise of the cinnamon rolls, let's make the frosting. So we're going to add in our butter and cream cheese, just a pinch of salt, some powdered sugar, and of course, vanilla. And we're going to whip that all together until it's all light and fluffy and ready to go. So you're going to see that it's a thick frosting, and it's meant to be like that because we want it to sit on top of those cinnamon rolls. With the heat of the cinnamon rolls, it's going to melt some of it and then keep the rest on top for that beautiful finish. So the cinnamon rolls are done rising for their second rise, and they're all set to be put into the oven. We have it at 350 degrees, and we're going to bake them for about 20 minutes. You're going to want them to be nice and lightly golden brown, but don't overcook them because that'll dry them out. The smell is amazing in here, and look at these cinnamon rolls. They're beautifully starting to get golden brown. So our last step is to add that cream cheese frosting to it. Just remember that if you did do some with raisins and some without, you're going to want to put a little indicator on top so that you know which ones are which. So we're just going to smother this all over the top, and it's going to melt a little bit into the cinnamon roll itself. They smell great. I know they're going to taste wonderful, and they're going to be great for breakfast. So all that cinnamon sugar has formed a beautiful layer in between, and the frosting has melted right down into it, giving it even more flavor throughout that dough. These do take time to rise and then rise again and then bake, but they're so worth it. We'll see you next time in the kitchen.